Hey guys, the hardest question that I get as a veterinarian is when people ask, how do I know when it's time to put my dog to sleep? And they usually ask me with tears in their eyes, and it's an emotional conversation, and it's a hard conversation. What I want to do today is tell you what I tell these people and just walk you through what I believe, in hopes that if you're having these thoughts and having these questions, this might be of comfort, and it might help you come to your own decision on when is the right time to euthanize a pet. A couple of days ago, I was putting an old dog to sleep, and his owners were there, and it was this really nice couple, and the man looks at me at one point and said, I bet this is the hardest part of your job. And I just kind of smiled at him, and just, we were having a good conversation. I wanted to be supportive of them. The truth is, it's probably not really. In most cases, when we come to the end of life, euthanasia is a gift and a blessing for dogs that are suffering or in pain. And so I don't see this as a terrible thing. Sometimes I honestly believe, in a lot of cases honestly, I believe that this is the kindest thing that we can do. And I just want to say that up front. As far as the hardest part of being a veterinarian, for me anyway, the hardest part is telling people that the pet that they love has got a terminal illness or is suffering or will be leaving this world. And you see the emotions on their face, and it breaks my heart. And it's a hard thing for me to do, but it's an important thing for me to do. I remember the first time that I had to tell someone that. I had to tell someone, your dog is going to die. I'm worried about your dog suffering and being in pain. It was this guy. He was a middle-aged guy, and he came in with his two children the first time, and he was great. And his dog was an 8-year-old Rottweiler, and the dog's name was Stone. And I like Stone, but Stone did not like me. He didn't want to be at the vet clinic, and I get it. The owner brought Stone in because he was limping, and that's when the guy thought, hey, this might be a problem. And Stone, not a fan of mine. And when I pressed into his shoulder, that was the end of the opportunities for us to be friends. He was done with me. He was really painful in that shoulder. And so I took some x-rays, and I had to tell this guy and his kids. And I was very gentle in how I talked to the children, of course, but in a one-on-one conversation with the man, I said, listen, your dog has osteosarcoma in his shoulder. And osteosarcoma is a terrible, terrible illness. It is a bone cancer. It is hard to treat. There are kind of limited options. There are things that we can do, but they're not easy things. And it's painful. Bone cancer really hurts. And he, for a couple of reasons, we were not able to do surgery, amputate this dog's leg. We knew we were not going to do chemotherapy or radiation. Like, that's a decision that we'd come to, and that's just where we were. And so together, he and I decided that we were going to do everything we could to keep Stone comfortable and to practice palliative care. And he said to me, I don't want Stone to suffer. When it is time, I want him to pass from this world because I do not want him to hurt. And I said, I agree with you, I am with you, and we will make that happen. And he said to me, how do I know when we're at that point, when it is time for Stone to cross the Rainbow Bridge? And that was the first time anyone ever asked me that question. And since then, I have tried again and again to get better and better at answering it. I got 4 ways that I look at this. I'm going to lay them out for you. Every pet, illness, and situation are different, okay? What your dog has experienced is different from any other dog. So just know that going in. Just because your mom felt differently when it was her dog, or your neighbor did something differently when their pet had this certain disease or condition, that doesn't matter, okay? This situation for you is special. And so every pet, every situation is unique. Here's what I want you to do. If this is a medical condition, there's an illness that your pet has, get as much information as you can about that illness, right? Learn what you can about the disease process. Is this progressive? Does it tend to move quickly? Is it painful? Is it uncomfortable? What can you expect in the future? Because that knowledge is power, and that will help you see into your crystal ball what's coming in the future, and that will empower your decision. So know that your pet and your situation are special. Understand what is going to happen as best you can, because that will help you make this decision. And the last thing that I say to people that's a huge help, I believe, is don't be afraid to get perspective from an outside person. Get someone who knows you and knows what you care about and sort of how you feel about things, that knows your relationship with your pet, and see what they think, because they will not be as deeply emotionally involved as you are. And we all know that sometimes having that perspective that's a step away, they can have more clarity. They can help us see things in a way that we can't see it when we're really in this decision. So don't be afraid to get an outside perspective from someone that you trust and who knows you and who knows your relationship with your pet. Pets live in the moment. One of the most wonderful things about our dog is that they are fully involved in the present. They don't think about what the past and how things used to be, and they don't worry about the future. They are just here in the present. I think about my dog as this old Wiesla, and he was with me for years and years, and every time I came home he just celebrated, just through his own one dog parade. And it didn't matter that I'd come home 1,000 or 5,000 times before. The fact that I am home right now, that meant the world to him, because he was fully invested in this present moment. That's one of the things to remember about the world of the dog. When our pets suffer, their point of view is on the present. They don't think about the great days in the past. They don't worry or ponder the future. All they know is how they feel right now. That's their perspective, and that's what matters. So the question is, how is your dog right now? Ask yourself important questions. Sometimes articulating or writing down your thoughts can make everything so much more clear when you go back and read them. Some of the questions that tend to help people that I work with are things like, why do I think it might be time to euthanize? What are my fears and my concerns about euthanizing? Whose interests beside my own am I taking into account while I'm making this decision? What are the fears and the concerns that the people around me have? What are they saying, or what are they worried about? Just so I have it in my mind. And the last thing is, am I making this decision because it's what's best for my dog? Or am I making the decision because it's what's best for me? And those are questions that I put to people just to get them thinking, and there's no right or wrong answer. But walking yourself through those questions can provide a lot of clarity. And the last thing I like to think about is try to measure quality of life. Quality of life is just simply how good is life right now. And that is hard to figure out sometimes when we're dealing with dogs that they can't talk and they can't tell us how they feel. There's 4 different techniques that I like to use to help me get an idea of what is this dog's quality of life. I'm going to walk you through them. The first approach that a lot of veterinarians take in assessing quality of life is called the 5 good things. And so the way it works is this: take a piece of paper and write down the 5 things that your dog loves to do more than anything else. His or her favorite 5 activities in the world. Pay close attention to whether or not your dog is doing these things. The scale looks like this in some ways. If your dog stops doing one of the 5 favorite things, that's a big deal. If your dog stops doing 3 out of her 5 favorite things, we've lost a good amount of quality of life, and it may not be worth going on at this point. A lot of vets say 3 out of 5, that's when they start to really think about euthanasia. The second approach is good days versus bad days, and this is really simple. A lot of times I have pets that have good days and bad days, and people say, I don't know, how will I know when it's time? And one of the things that can help is to visually look at how many good days and bad days are we having, because that gets lost in our minds sometimes. So go to the calendar, get a paper calendar, the old school paper calendar. put check marks, big check marks on the days that we had a good day, and put X marks on the days that we had a bad day. And if you're looking and your dog is having more bad days than good days, again, that is a big indicator for a poor quality of life. The third technique that I like a lot is from a doctor that I have great respect for. Her name is Dr. Alice Villalobos. And she has what's called the HHHHMM scale. So 5 H's and 2 M's, okay? The H's stand for hurt, hunger, hydration, hygiene, and happiness, okay? Hygiene is the ability to keep themselves clean. The M's stand for mobility and more, as in more good days than bad days, which is what we just talked about. So 5 H's are 2 M's. Dr. Villalobos recommends writing down these 7 things and then give your dog a score on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is they have absolutely no quality of life in this area, and 10 is they have perfect 100% quality of life. They're doing this completely and they are happy doing it. Score your dog on those 7 things. For Dr. Villalobos, if the majority of those categories are scored as a 5 or higher, then going on and continuing supportive care is acceptable if that's how you feel we should go. However, if it's less than that, this dog is probably suffering and needs to be put to sleep. If you want to learn more about this scale, there's a link right here, and I'll put it down in the comments for you as well. And the last technique that I like for looking at quality of life is a pet hospice journal. If this is something that you're wrestling with, having it down in writing and saying every day, how is your pet's behavior? How did they feel? How is their appetite? How well are they sleeping? And just making some notes about those types of things, that can really help you track over time and see if there's a trend and see how quickly our condition is progressing, or to see if we're losing quality of life as the days and weeks go by. There is a fantastic online pet hospice journal that's totally free. It's at pethospicejournal.com. It also has an integrated quality of life scale. So take a look at that, or feel free to go the old-fashioned way and just keep a written log. Guys, just so you know, Stone didn't suffer. When the time came and he was obviously painful and we couldn't control that pain, his owner made the right decision and he crossed the rainbow bridge in the arms of his family. He was remembered with dignity, he was remembered as the strong protector of those children, and he was remembered with love. I remember his owner for being a strong person and making the right decision when it came time. I hope that you and I and everyone else will have that strength to make that hard decision, because our dogs deserve it and we want to protect them. The most important thing in life is quality of life. It's not about quantity and getting the most days possible. Gang, take care of yourselves. If you're watching this episode because you recently made this decision and you're second guessing yourself, or you're wondering if you did the right thing, I want you to know that those questions are totally normal. The fact that you've watched this whole video and thought about all of these things, that says a world about how seriously you took this decision. I am sure you made the right choice. Also, if you are thinking about this going forward, I'll tell you one last thing. I put my own dog to sleep. He was almost 16 years old. It was last year, at the end of the year. And I wrestle with that decision so much. And now I have the same thoughts that I hear from pet owners all the time. I have never had a pet owner come back to me and say, I wish I had waited longer to make this decision. I never once. I have had lots of pet owners, and I think I probably am one, who say, I wish that I had put my dog to sleep sooner, because as I look back, I don't think he had quality of life at the end of the year. I don't think he was happy. Thanks for watching this episode. I really hope that it will be useful for you and for others in the future. If you have a story about your dog crossing the rainbow bridge, feel free to put it in the comments and share. Sometimes it feels really good to share. I promise I'll read what you write. This stuff is important, and so let's be supportive of each other. If you think that this is a video that would help someone that you know, please share it with them. Help me get the word out, and let's support people as best we can, because this is a terrible experience to go through, but it's something that every dog lover must go through. I hate to say it, but guys, this is the cost of admission. When we let the dogs into our heart, we know that they're going to pass away from us. And so let's be supportive of each other and just do our best when that day comes. All right, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.